against my enemies, yeah.
What is up, everyone? I am Rob.
I'm Eamon.
Oh, would you believe it is a monster Fuzz? Oh, happy days. Oh, happy days.
Oh, happy days.
The Fuzz, there you go. That's better than me. Now it's more bombastic. It's here again. It is the Fuzz and it is monstrous. Eamon, what the hell is going on with this episode real quick before we get into the...
talking about? This is... So, I would have heard about this case years ago. I think it was before my niece is 5 now. This would have been before she was born, so this is going back a while. And my sister and my now brother-in-law were telling me about it. But basically, it's a crazy haunting story where there's official documents from social services and police about wild stuff going on in the house, like children walking up walls and stuff. It's a really, really bizarre case.
Sounds good. I'm very much intrigued. Quick reminder to give everyone reviews if they can, or for everyone to give reviews. And also, if you'd like to do a little bit more, you can head on over and check out our Patreon. You'll get stuff in return for your patronage. But yeah, you'll get access to your Discord. You'll get exclusive episodes, ad-free episodes, and all that jazz. If you don't want to do that, you can head on over to Apple Podcasts has the Fuzzy Club, which is basically Apple's equivalent to Patreon. All you get over there, though, is your exclusive episode and your ad-free episode. That's it.
A bunch of garbage.
What I will say is if you're a member of the Fuzzy Club and would like access to our Discord, send me a picture of your receipt or whatever, and I'll send you on the Discord invite. So do that. We'll get sorted. Everyone's a winner.
What a sound magnanimous, man.
Oh, I know. Sure. Happy days. God. Happy days. Quick reminder, we're on all the socials there are. So we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, all that jazz. And Instagram stories and TikTok get videos, 3 or 4 videos a week usually. Some of our listeners have said they quite enjoy them actually. So go and check them out if you want little shareable clips of Monster Fuzz. They are over there. Emma, if they've got any cryptid encounters or spooky stories, where do they send them?
Is your house haunted? Can your children scale the walls like some sort of bargain bin Miles Morales? Send these stories into monsterfuzzpodcast@gmail.com and we will, as always, read them on a mini fuzz.
Or Spider Pig.
Spider Pig was another one.
Nah, he was a good lad.
Is there too many Spider Men?
There's way too many.
There's too many.
There's the one now I see is getting a bit of steam just because Sydney Sweeney played her. What's her name?
Madam Web.
No,
well,
but
she's Arachne.
Yeah.
That's the black with the white, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can't. It's Jessica.
Yeah.
Not Jessica. Something like that. Yeah. Drew, maybe. I can't remember. Something like that.
There's too many.
Too many Spider Women. Too many Spider Men. Too many Spider Women. We need more spider children. That's where we're at.
Yeah, no, there's too much.
There's some cool, like I love Ben Reilly, the clone. Yeah. He's like my favorite of all the Spider-Man.
He was the original of
the extra guy. Yeah. So I have the toys I have. I have Scarlet Spider, Ben Reilly Spider-Man, and then Chasm. And I'm like, yeah, good stuff. But big Ben Reilly fan. He's miserable.
So I have Channing Tatum Gambit.
I don't have Channing Tatum Gambit, but that will be released soon, I would imagine, in toy stores all over the country.
Awful stuff. So Emma, take us away and give us a little bit of an introduction here into this story.
And here we go. So there's kind of 2 names for this one. There's the Ammons haunting case, so that's the second name of the family.
That's how a lot of people spell your name, by the way, when they're right in.
Amon is a demon as well, so demon blood. That's pretty cool.
Pazuzu.
That's pretty cool. Pazuzu. So the Ammons haunting case, it's also known as the 200 Demons House or just the Demon House. And it's basically an alleged haunting and demonic possession which occurred in Gary, Indiana.
Classic.
In 2011, which makes sense that my in-law and in-law. So he's my in-law because he married my sister, but my sister is just my law. My sister. Blood. She's my blood. Yeah. So we're all...
In-law just means that it's your brother-in-law.
True law.
So your sister's just your sister.
I'm going to just call her my law from now on.
Right, okay.
You my law.
But there is no law to
sister,
it though.
You my law.
The marriage part is the law, you see.
That's true, and it doesn't really matter to me whether he marries my sister. Unless everyone belonging to me dies and then he gets half my man dad's shit and I'd be like, you give that back to me. They were my family. Now. I hope not. Yeah, I give it, my nieces can take it. I'm just minding this money until your nieces come of age. No, hopefully none of my family die. But sure, look. So, Latoya Ammons, her mother Rosa Campbell, and her 3 children claimed paranormal activity occurred in the residence. The story was publicized in January 2014 and received national attention. So this is really interesting. Loads of these events are detailed in nearly 800 pages of official records, and they're recounted in more than a dozen interviews with police, DCS personnel. So I think DCS, that's like the social services personnel, psychologists, family members, and a Catholic priest. So either this is a dose of official people conspiring to tell this really outlandish haunting story, or in fact, this is a true case that a lot of people got dragged into and sort of intertwined in. So like, if you imagine it, let's say, I don't know, you were some sort of an auditor or something,
right,
or an insurance guy, and you were going to a house to be like, right, so we have to see the damage of the insurance, and the person was saying, yeah, like a ghost lit the fire, and you'd be like, right, so we don't cover that. So, but then you went to this place and actually you experienced all this crazy stuff. So then in your official report, you would have to write to the company, listen, I'm not mad, but this is what I experienced when I went to assess the property. You know, so that's similar to what's happening here.
That sounds fairly juicy now.
Pretty good one.
So,
and this as well, this is going to be a 2-part episode, so there's so much stuff going on in this. We got there's a really good article in the Indy Star, Indiana Star. So we've taken the majority of all the interviews and stuff, so there's a huge amount. So it's like, usually our documents are between 6 and 9 pages. This is about 20 pages, so we're probably going to have to split it and come back for part 2.
It's up there with the Warrens.
Up there with the Warrens. You do your splits like you're like Netflix. You're like, here's the first part, next part, January 25. You know, so
literally. Mine is like House of the Dragon. Mine house notes now in 2027.
You're waiting all this time for the massive fight, and then it's like, see you in June.
That's House of Dragons, another story now. I'd toss a fucking waiting that long for that shite. So anyway, you might be asking what happened exactly. So in November 2011, Latoya Ammons, her mother Rosa Campbell, and the 3 children, 7, 9 and 12 years old, moved into a house located at 3860 Carolina Street in Gary, Indiana. Days after the family moved in, they claimed black flies swarmed the porch in December and kept returning even after the family believed they were killed.
Yeah, so
this was the start of a haunting.
Totally. And this
Beelzebub.
Demons! And we see this again talking about the flies. Amityville was another case where they were just saying that they could not get rid of these flies. So a lot of times when there's flies infesting the house, oftentimes you just need to call pest control. But if they keep coming back and come back and come back, some people say this is like early signs of demonic, is it oppression, infestation, when they're trying to get into the house and act the maggot.
Light an old citronella candle by keep the bad exes away. Bit of citronella incense and all that. That'll sort them out.
Links and a lighter.
Links and a lighter. Axe for our Americans.
Axe for the American friends. Links, because a lynx is kind of like a panther. And panthers, why are panthers sexy? Why is...
Sleek, just muscles.
Just muscle.
Sleek, muscular. Sleek, anything that's sleek and
why
muscular.
Why is there sex kittens and sex panthers?
I don't know.
Sometimes I think of these things. I lie awake in bed and I go, what is the etymology of the words? The words sex kitten.
Is there a word sex kitten?
Yeah.
All right.
Sex kitten. Maybe it's going out of vogue. I'd say so. People were like, oh yeah, sex jaguar, sex big cat. And he's like, what about sex small cat?
It doesn't really work like sex
young
kitten.
cat. Sex kitten is, that'd be...
Yeah,
I don't think it's said very much anymore.
No, I've heard it.
I do think it's problematic. I do think it's a problematic phrasing.
Yeah. So, out of all this malignant haunting nonsense, Gary policeman, that's confusing.
It's confusing. Gary the police,
Captain Charles Austin said it was the strangest story he had ever heard.
Stone Cold Charles Austin.
Yeah, he said that he's a 36-year-old veteran of the police department. He said he initially thought Indianapolis resident Latoya Ammons and her family concocted an elaborate tale as a way to make money. But after several visits to their home and interviews with witnesses, Austin said simply, I am a believer. Now, what I will say as well is, like, this does get bandied around a lot, both in cryptid sightings, ghosts, blah, blah, blah. there is no money to be made in that. Like, there isn't. And so now,
Jesus Christ, we've been doing this for 4
there's no money to be
years.
made.
There's not money.
So unless it's a thing where they think there's money to be made and that's their motivation, like, that's fair. But
The only thing I can think of is apparently, so where this took place is a kind of a, I suppose, a ghetto type area.
oh, yeah.
In
In the ghetto.
the ghetto, child lies down is night and night in the ghetto. So I think that they potentially, not to make money, but maybe an outlandish story to change property.
Yeah.
You know,
That's fair
may
enough.
have been the case. But again, I don't think you would make much money out of it. And even if you're looking to change property, you don't really capitalize on that, other than the fact that the government would move you, or the local authority would move you to a different property. So there's no real financial incentive, even though there might be sort of an environmental incentive.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
So, okay, some details from this. So, as I said, this is all taken from the Indie Star. We were going to I was going to try and splice somewhere together, but this article was just so well written and so informative and so long that we said we'd just cover this.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to what we did with the Sand and Clown.
Yeah.
Because it was just such
The
a
best
well-written-
source.
Yeah,
has
like you
all
can go
the-
through
the
Wikipedia
stuff.
and all the rest of it, but
Yeah.
everything's here. So, this is not normal, is what Ammons' mother, Rosa Campbell, remembers thinking about the flies, as we just talked about a second ago. We killed them and we killed them and we killed them, but they kept coming back. There were other strange happenings too. After midnight, Campbell and Ammons both said they occasionally heard the steady clump of footsteps climbing the basement stairs and the creak of the door opening between the basement and the kitchen.
It's Bill Skarsgård. Is that his name?
Pennywise.
The Crow. Yeah, he's the Crow now, actually.
He's the Crow now. Is that what he does? Oh, when he goes in to get your one Martha off the gear.
I don't know. I'm just saying that he's everything. He's Pennywise and the Crow.
Pennywise
He's
and
the
the
Crow
Crow.
now.
Yeah, the Crow Man.
Yeah.
Crow Man.
He was
Crow
also in
Man.
something else recently. He was quite good in Bill Skarsgård.
He's, to be fair, he's a deadly little actor.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of him now when I think of the Crow, but however.
Yeah, you wouldn't think he was the Crow if you
Yeah.
saw him as the Crow
No,
without
I
knowing they were
know.
making a Crow movie.
Yeah.
Either. He looks like...
Yeah. No, he hasn't passed the eye test for me now.
No.
I didn't look at it and go, oh, classic,
There's
now I had to go and see that. now.
absolutely no reason to do that to the Crow.
It's one of those
now, I
things
haven't
when you
seen the
look at
movie
it-
yet, so I'm suspending my disbelief.
No, it's one of those things when you look at it, you're like, this is what they're doing with it then.
Yeah, you're
Class.
just going, right, more garbage for me to watch.
You're like, class.
The Crow is one of my favourite movies. I
Mm.
love The Crow. Imprinted on me at that age when movies do. And I probably thought I was like going around listening to The Cure or just being like, nobody understands my deep moody. Like, but yeah, like Eric Draven was kind of a guitarist in a band. I guess in their defense, you couldn't really make that sort of goth grunge aesthetic now. It's like 30 years after the
Yeah,
original.
well, as we were
movie.
saying before, like, The Crow wasn't really known as like a great film when it came out. Like, it was known as a style over substance kind of film, like where it was all vibes and cool and moody looking. But like that doesn't necessarily. It wasn't like it was always a cult classic, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
never something like genre defining
I
or
think
anything.
the other side of it is that, like, if you read the comic book of The Crow, it's obviously different in its own way, but in essence, it sticks relatively closely to it.
Yeah, Bill Skarsgård though.
Bill Skarsgård, like, to be fair, Bill Skarsgård, to quote Ben Affleck, to quote Kevin Smith, he could play the shark in Jaws. Like, he's a really good actor. Like, him as Pennywise was fantastic, and he made it his own. And I have no doubt that he will play the Crow very well. It's just, even like, what do you do once you've made one Crow movie? It's like, is there a point in making any other Crow movie? Like, it's just the
There's no
same
point.
story.
Unless you
Oh.
want to reboot it, like the exact same, remake it, kind of the same.
And is there any point
No,
in that when it's
then there's
already
no
been
point.
made?
No.
There's
That's
one,
called
there's
Underworld.
one financial point.
It's called Underworld. And it's
That's
Kate
true,
Beckinsale.
yeah. Kate Beckinsale. Now, to be fair, I mean, to be fair, Kate Beckinsale in tight black leather running around the
Oh
place.
no, when you're getting horny there. Come on, let's go back to the ghosts.
Where's my tea vagina? So even after they locked the door, this noise continued. I had a bit of that last night out by myself in the house.
Did you? Yeah?
I just, when you just hear something, like, it was a very, very windy night last night, but I heard something that sounded like it was a creak inside. And you're semi-detached, I'm semi-detached. They do something next door. you can hear
Semi-detached in more ways than one, now, to be honest with you. Semi-detached from reality.
semi-fragmented. Yeah. So even after they lock the door, the noise continues. And then Campbell, so that's the mother, she says, or not the mother, that's the mother of the mother in this story. So Campbell said she awoke one night and she saw a shadowy figure of a man pacing in her living room. She leaped out of the bed to investigate and found large, wet footprints. So some lad who had just come straight from the boat with a thetis.
What a fetus.
From March the 10th, 2012, the family's unease starts to turn to fear. They start to freak out.
Yeah, which is totally understandable. So the first case we have is a bit of levitation, I believe, and apparently happened at about 2 a.m. Normally Campbell, Ammons and her children would have been asleep, but they were mourning the death of a loved one with a group of friends. Ammons, who was in Campbell's bedroom, startled everyone by screaming, "Mama, Mama." Campbell said she ran into her bedroom where her then 12-year-old granddaughter and a friend were staying. Ammons and Campbell said that the 12-year-old was levitating above the bed, unconscious. According to their account of events, Ammons and several others surrounded the girl praying, which is, that's the best way to deal with. Campbell said she remembers being terrified. "I thought, what's going on?" she said. "Why is this happening?"
That's what if I saw someone, would be my exact thoughts. Would be, what's going on? Why is this happening?
That's like Resident Evil, right? It's like Barry is coming. What's going on
here?
Why is this
happening? I was
happening?
playing the remake, the part where he's obviously he's talking to Wesker and Wesker's threatening his family. And Jill comes and goes, "Barry, were you talking to someone?" "I guess I'm getting to that age where I just talk to myself. Anyway, I'm going outside. I might find some more of those things."
Speaking of which, actually, a quick little divergence was on Humble Bundle at the minute, all of the Resis are there for €28 for your Steam library.
When you say all, they're like 1 to 8?
Village, 7, 6, Class,
5, 4, 3,
all,
2, 1.
all the
Director's cut?
Yeah.
Remake?
No, Director's Cut's not there. Remake 2 was there. Remake 3. Yeah.
So it's all the more recent ones like the Remake 2, Nemesis, 4. Yeah. Do you think they're going to remake 5?
Original 4 is there as well.
Original 4. I love the remake, but I think Original 4 I kind of have a soft spot in my heart. So
eventually Campbell said her granddaughter descended onto the bed. The girl woke up and had no memory of what happened. Campbell said, and Ammons said that the people who were visiting that night refused to return, naturally enough.
Like, as well, the other side of it is we were mourning a loved one's loss at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Few lads drinking.
Few spirits.
There's a few spirits going around.
More than one type of spirits in that house.
You know what I mean? They're all on the Hennessy.
That said, though, if I went over to your house and someone in your house was just levitating, I'd be like, I'm never coming back here. Look, cool. Do you know? Like, that'd be enough for you to just be like, that's
especially if I was just like, they'll do that from time to time. Scary stuff. So Campbell says she remembers telling her daughter, "We need help. We need to talk to someone who knows how to deal with this. Who you gonna call?"
That's the Ghostbusters.
Obviously, Egon Spengel and the boys. Spengel? Egon Venkman. No, that was Peter. Egon
Venkman's one of Murray.
Egon
Musk.
Elon Musk. Egon Musk. We're gonna send these
I don't
ghosts
remember
into outer
the
space.
boys. No.
Egon Spengman or something. That's not right.
Spankman.
You know when it's not right. Spankman.
Spankman.
Egon Spankman.
I think so.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have important
Egon
work.
Jenkum. Probably is Egon Jenkum. I tell you, Spankman.
Spankman.
I think
Egon
so.
Ghostbusters. It definitely sounds like that. Egon.
Our poor listeners.
Spengler. Sorry about that, guys.
Come on now.
You know, who are you going to call if you're going through the phone book looking for Egon Spengman? You're not going to get, you need Spengler.
Yeah, you get one of the other Egons, to be fair.
Yeah, one of the other Egon ghost wrestlers. So Campbell and Ammons said that they didn't know exactly what it was, but even at this early time, they were sure that it was something supernatural. So they called all the local churches, but most of them actually refused to listen. There's a question, if we do get brother Richard in, how did the church respond when you ring them up and you're like, this shit haunted?
I believe now
They have to restore.
there's a protocol.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a protocol that...
They have a hearse that's painted white and a siren on top, and they send that out to you.
No, they have to... There is a way, I'm not sure, but there is a way that they do establish that it's not mental illness and it is legitimate.
That's right, yeah. I've read that before,
Yeah.
that they make sure, check your records.
Don't know how to do that, but they do it.
Like, are you mental?
Yeah.
I swear to God, I'm not. And then they're like, grand, we're on the way.
We'll find out. We'll find out
Yeah,
soon
it'd be pretty
enough.
good.
Yeah.
Eventually, after listening to Campbell and Ammons talk about the house and visiting it, officials at one church told them the Carolina Street house had spirits in it. They recommended that the family clean the home with bleach and ammonia, then use oil to draw crosses on every door and the window. So I haven't heard about this before. I haven't heard like bleach and ammonia. Just seems like that just seems like actual cleaning products. I always thought sage was the main thing. They use a lot of olive oil in this. By the end of this, like her children are lathered in olive oil.
Olive oil is class.
Olive oil is class, but I don't know if it's class.
It's class for
telling
everything,
jokes,
man. Olive oil
just
is
in
like
general.
legitimate. You should have a
Can you use
teaspoon
like
of that a day.
Nutella to get rid? Just is it any sauce that's class? You can use it to get bit of korma, get rid of all the ghosts and all.
No, olive oil man,
Jalfrezi.
is special stuff. Like, you ever have real, like, olive oil is one of them things I don't compromise on.
You
I
always
don't
get like
buy-
the extra virgin.
Oh yeah,
olive
like
oil, yeah.
I'm talking like glass bottle has to be fucking expensive. I'm not buying like cheap olive
Yeah,
oil
yeah.
ever. It has to have that kind of peppery taste to it almost.
I get you.
That cheap shit fucking doesn't have that.
No, you're right. You want it like
That fucking Tesco bullshit or
those,
that
those
Aldi.
underage olive
Someone
oils.
comes in with that shit, I'm actually offended. I turn Italian if someone comes in with shit olive oil. I'm like, this is bullshit.
I always try to get the really slutty olive oil.
The shit like crap one.
Oh, like there's extra virgin. I want to get like super slutty.
I see.
I
what
want to
you
get
did.
train ran olive oil.
That's Tesco's olive oil. That's what that is.
Yeah. No, usually I'd spell. What's your olive? Just I get the usual man from Del Monte or whatever. The man from
green
Del
and gold
Monte.
label.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it Barrio? Barrio?
I don't know, it looks good.
Barrio, I think.
The man from Del Monte. He
But anyway,
said yes.
if
but
you
the
put
man
that
from
shit all
Parkview,
over you, right, you're going to have a class gallbladder, deadly stomach,
class stomach.
omega 3s and 6s and 9s,
Yeah.
and no ghosts.
Pretty
anywhere.
good.
There's going to be no ghosts anywhere. They're afraid of a bit of olive oil.
It's all good.
Olives people should eat more of. They're great.
Eat more olives.
Class.
Yes. Olives are good. Olives
Class.
are very nice. A bit of
Very good
garlic
for
in
you.
them.
Full of probiotic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, apparently they get rid of spirits
Well,
as
tell
well.
us
So
all about
there we
it.
go.
Yeah, come on.
So she pours olive oil on her 3 children's hands and feet and then smears oil in the shape of crosses on their foreheads.
Class.
Campbell and Ammons also told the Star they reached out to 2 clairvoyants who said the family's home was besieged by more than 200 demons. Their explanation made sense to Campbell and Ammons, they say, because it meshed with their Christian faith.
Oh.
Popular Christian metal band. The best thing you can do is move, Ammons remembers the clairvoyants telling her, but moving wasn't an option for the cash-strapped family. Instead, Ammons said she took a clairvoyant's advice and made an altar in the basement. Ammons covered an end table with a white sheet, then placed a white candle and statue of Mary, Joseph and Jesus on it. She opened the Bible to Psalm 91. She said she and another person donned white t-shirts and wound white scarves around their heads.
All right.
Also, on this clairvoyant's advice, they burned sage and sulphur throughout the house, starting upstairs and working their way down. Okay, so that's the part I would have thought we would have done as a standard sage advice. The smoke was so thick they could hardly breathe, and Ammons drew a cross with the smoke that was coming out.
Burn a bit of sage or anything?
Yeah, burned a
you,
bit of
yeah?
sage before. I had like raw sage, and I kind of burned it as an sort of an incense substitute. But yeah, it's
How'd
grand.
that go for you?
I don't do it much anymore.
No?
You know? Yeah, it's easier. Just a bit of incense is easier. But I did have like a sage thing. We just burn the top and wave it around the room for a bit. And I'd chant, obviously, prayers to get rid of the malignant spirits that were in the house.
We should probably light sage whenever we record this podcast.
To be fair, I don't think the demons have any interest in
missing out.
coming near us. We're like those
We're already
surfers that the
taken
sharks
by 'em.
can smell have bad blood. They're
That's
like,
probably
no,
it,
we
yeah.
don't want any part of this.
We could be doing their work. They might be like, yeah, you keep on doing what you're doing there.
This is it. Present update from wife that needs to be collected. She said the train will be there at 8:20.
Oh no.
But I don't know if this is true.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like 8:30. We'll aim for that.
It's a tragedy.
So the person So they read Psalm 91 aloud, and this psalm goes, You will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday. So you won't fear anything. Ammon said nothing odd happened for 3 days, and then, oh my God, things got worse.
Demons. So the family said demons possessed Ammons and her children, who were the ages of 7, 9 and 12. The kids' eyes bulged like Steve Buscemi. Evil smiles crossed their faces, and their voices deepened every time it happened, Campbell and Ammons said. Campbell said that the demons didn't affect her because she was born with protection from evil.
Yeah, she doesn't really go into much about that. It's just like, I've got protection.
I think we do need to burn sage in her, though, I mean.
We probably do.
It's
just
a bit evil in her.
It's
a bit evil.
The smell of too sweaty.
It's a bit evil in her. You know,
you think it's bad in here?
It's a bit evil.
Bad blood.
I bought a lot of new Resident Evil retro video games.
That's true.
That brings in evilness.
I'll get you some sage now and I'll bring it back.
Right, yeah.
Onto the Algarve in Portugal. I'll bring a lovely bag of sage back.
Big bag of sage.
Portuguese sage.
So yeah, the demons don't affect her. She said she and others like her have a guardian who protects her. Ammons said she felt weak, lightheaded and warm when she was possessed. Her body shook and she felt out of control.
Lord, out of control.
You can tell it's different. You can tell that it's something supernatural, they said. The youngest boy, then 7, sat in a closet talking to a boy that no one else could see.
Yeah, that's not
common.
That's kind of
common behaviour.
Insidious type stuff, isn't
But
it?
that's common behaviour, I would say. My brother had a
Just for
fucking
children.
imaginary friend. Yeah. Do you know? The other boy was describing what it felt like to be killed. Campbell said the 7-year-old once flew out of the bathroom as if he'd been thrown, and a headboard once smacked into Ammon's daughter, causing a wound that needed stitches. So I'll keep going there. You're texting the missus, are you?
Yeah, I'm saying you wait there now. You're the only ghost that's ruling my podcast.
So the 12-year-old would later tell mental health professionals that she sometimes felt as if she were being choked and held down so she couldn't speak or move. She said she heard a voice say she'd never see her family again and wouldn't live another 20 minutes. Some nights were so bad that the family slept at a hotel. Sounds kind of like the old hag almost. And you'd wonder then as like, Jesus, like, if the old hag, like if you were going through a bad mental spell and something like the old hag happened to you on a night or a couple of nights,
every night, yeah,
then you'd be like,
I'd be getting out of there.
I'm haunted, basically. So finally, in desperation, they went to their family physician, who's Dr. Jeffrey Onyekwu, who on April 19, 2012, Ammon said she told him what they were going through, hoping that he might understand. And he told the Star that it was bizarre. And he said, 20 years, I've never heard anything like that in my life. I was scared myself when I walked into the room.
Yeah.
He said he would not speak in more detail unless Ammons had psychiatric clearance for the waiver of confidentiality she had signed. In his medical notes about the visit, Onyekwu wrote delusions of ghost in home and hallucinations.
If you go to like a doctor, they can't be like, oh yes, there's actually a ghost. Or like, he's obviously going to be like having a bit of a mental spell.
Yeah.
You know?
What would be important, I suppose, to say at this point is that it is quite common, we've come across it before on the podcast here, that there is a type of sort of psychosis or schizophrenia, I don't know what the right word is here, where basically people see religious iconography, religious stuff.
It's very common. I think because so many of us are...
But there's a name on it.
There's actually a name on it. Yeah,
there's like a specific term for that type of thing. So that's the first caveat that we'll say. The first port of call as responsible podcasters that we would say for anyone experiencing anything like this is to have a fairly decent psych eval.
Yeah.
That's probably the first port of call. Before assuming ghosts, make sure that your brain is up to scratch.
I wonder what's easier to overcome.
What, being haunted or being schizophrenic?
Like what's quicker to... Because if you've ever heard about
I'd rather be haunted. I think that'd be easier to deal with.
Well, the lads in Rome that do the exorcisms, that's like therapy. Like you have to come back every other week or whatever, and it's like, do this, do this, do this.
And that's good. And that's... So this is another thing that kind of, it sort of crosses paths with some of the stuff that we talk about at times, but like some people might frown upon, say, the church getting involved in exorcisms or the church getting involved with that type of stuff, and they might say, especially if they're atheist, that these are strictly psychiatric events. There's nothing paranormal going on, blah blah blah. But what I would say to that is, if this is working, i.e. if they're seeing a priest or a religious figurehead and it is stopping them from having these hallucinations and delusions, well, then it's working.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
And as well,
as long as nothing sinister is going on.
No, absolutely.
You know?
Even if it is something that's happening within your mind, like going to therapy, in a sense, is placebo, because you're not administering anything.
No.
You're kind of peeling back
Just
layers
talking
to
it
your
out,
own psyche onto the
vocalizing it,
yeah, and transference and all that other stuff. But anyway, that's not as much fun as children walking up walls. So Campbell said that Ammon's son cursed on Yikwu, the doctor, in demonic voices, raging
Fuck
at him.
off, you bastard. Bitch ass cunt.
Stick your thermometer in your arse. So the medical staff said the youngest boy was lifted and thrown into the wall when nobody actually touched him. And that's according to a DCS report. Now, maybe Onyekwu had enough and he said, you fucking tell you now, like, I break you up. Which, again, it's not in vogue now, but certainly disciplining children with the palm and the fist seemed to work in the olden days.
You say Sam's, I say fucking Pams.
Sam 91. How about Hands 91? I'll tell you now. So the boys abruptly passed out and wouldn't come to, Campbell added. She cradled one boy in her arms and Ammons held on to the other. Someone from the doctor's office called 911. Onyekwu said 7 or 8 police officers showed up. Multiple ambulances showed up as well. They couldn't figure out exactly what was happening, he recalled. So he's stuttering as he tells this story. Police and emergency personnel took the boys to the Methodist Hospital campus in Gary, Indiana. Ammons said hospital personnel laughed at her desire to anoint her sons in even more extra virgin olive oil.
Class.
Maybe she was using the cheap Tesco stuff, the Sailor olive oil.
Probably the crap shit, like, you know.
I won't get rid of ghosts.
No.
She said, I couldn't talk to them, so I talked to God. The boys woke up in the hospital. The older boy, who was then 9, acted rationally, but the youngest screamed and thrashed. Campbell said that it took 5 men to hold him down. Meanwhile, someone called DCS and asked the agency to investigate Ammons for possible child abuse or neglect. Again, a rational evaluation. The caller, who was not named in the report, speculated that Ammons may have a mental illness. Again, very rational thought. The person believed the children were performing for Ammons and she was encouraging their behaviour. And to be fair, that would probably be my first thought.
Like, they've been like groomed into child stardom of the paranormal.
Yeah,
I kind of like that.
Stockholm.
It's like,
Munchausen by paranormal.
She's like grooming him to like crawl backwards up the walls and all. She's like doing like,
clearly the mother is training him how to walk up walls. Clearly.
Class.
So the case manager, Valerie Washington, was asked to handle the initial investigation. She gave the following account to police and in her intake officer's report. So again, these are official documents. Hospital personnel examined Ammons and her children and found them to be healthy and free of marks or bruises. A hospital psychiatrist evaluated Ammons and determined she was of sound mind. She's sound, man.
Yeah.
Washington interviewed the family in the hospital. When she spoke with Ammons, the 7-year-old boy started growling with his teeth showing. His eyes rolled back in his head. The boy locked his hands around his older brother's throat and refused to let go until the adults pried his hands open.
Class.
Now I'm sure brothers, look, they're known for that. Later that evening, Washington and registered nurse Willie Lee Walker, which is a class name, brought the 2 boys into a small exam room for an interview. Campbell joined them. The 7-year-old stared into his brother's eyes and began to growl again. It's time to die, the boy said. Oh, sorry, in a deep one.
It's time to die.
There you go. And the next bit?
I will kill you.
Excellent. I do the high-pitched shrill demon. You do the low, the guttural, bassy demon. While the youngest boy spoke, the older brother started headbutting Campbell in the stomach.
Bit of headbutting. It's underrated, really, headbutting.
Take that, ma'am. No. Campbell grabbed her grandson. Sorry, that's grandmam, not even ma'am. Campbell grabbed her grandson's hand and started praying. What happened next would rattle the witness. And to some, it would offer not only evidence, but proof of paranormal activity. According to Washington's original DCS report, an account corroborated by Walker, Willie Lee Walker, the nurse, the 9-year-old had a weird grin and began walking backwards and up the ceiling.
Class.
He then flipped over Campbell, landing on his feet. He never let go of his grandmother's hand the whole time.
Now, we're going to talk about a bit of physics here. Could you do that if you're holding someone's hand? If you were young?
What age
maybe?
is he? He's 9, is it?
Like, I wonder, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out. Like,
I know what you mean. You could hold the weight. It would be, you couldn't do it with one hand, I think. That kid would want to have some core muscles.
Because lads can run up a wall and backflip, like. I'm saying with a hand to stabilise you, would you be more...
Okay. It's possible.
What I'm saying is, though, I'm not trying to necessarily rubbish that it's something paranormal doing it. What I'm saying is, it could even be possible physically to do...
If you did it quick enough, I suppose.
If you're a young lad, like,
flippy shit. A 9-year-old might be able to do
a bit of flippy shit.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, cool.
He walked up the wall, flipped over and stood there, Walker told the Star. There's no way he could have done that. Later, police asked Washington whether the boy had run up the wall as though performing an acrobatic trick. There you go. So they have you covered. No, Washington told him. She said the boy glided backwards onto the floor, wall and ceiling.
Class.
So there you go. So there.
Moonwalk.
Illuminati denied. Washington did not respond for more comments. But she did tell the police she was scared when it happened and ran out of the room. As for Walker, Washington said he ran out of the room with me. We didn't know what was going on. It was crazy. And I was like, everybody got to go. According to Washington's report, they told a doctor what happened. The doctor, who did not believe them, asked the boy to walk up the wall again. Walker said he told the doctor he doubted the boy could repeat the feat. The kid was not himself when he did that, Walker said. The boy said he didn't remember what had happened and couldn't do it again. Walker, who said he previously believed in demons and spirits, thought the boy's behaviour had some demonic spirit to it, but also was the result of some mental illness. A police report quoted Washington saying she believed there could be an evil influence that was affecting the family.
Not like a bit of evil influence to affect the family, do you know what I mean?
This is it.
We're on to the aftermath here. So basically... Ammons said she spent the night at the hospital with her 7-year-old son while Campbell took Ammons' daughter and older son to a relative's home in Gary. The next day was Ammons' youngest son's 8th birthday. Ammons said DCS officials asked Campbell to bring the older child back to hospital, presumably to talk more about what happened. The family celebrated the boy's birthday by singing and eating a miniature cake.
Aww.
Then Ammons said Washington told them the children wouldn't be going home. DCS took the emergency step of taking custody of the children without a court order. All of the children were experiencing spiritual and emotional distress, Washington wrote in a DCS form. So Ammons told the Star she and her children cried because they didn't want to be separated. We'd already been through so much and fought so hard for our lives, she recalled. It was obvious we were a team and we were beating it. Whatever we were fighting, we made it through together as a team, and they separated us. The Reverend Michael Maginot was leading Bible study in his living room in the morning of April 20th, 2012, when he received a call from a hospital chaplain. Maginot had been the priest at St. Stephen Martyr Parish in Merrillville for more than 10 years, but had never received a request like this one. The chaplain asked him to perform an exorcism on Ammons' 9-year-old son. Maginot agreed to interview the family after a Sunday Mass a few days later. The first step, Maginot said, was ruling out natural causes for what Ammons and her family said they were experiencing. He visited Ammons and Campbell in the Carolina Street home on April 22nd, 2012. For 2 hours, Ammons and Campbell detailed the phenomena for him. Then Campbell interrupted the interview to point out a flickering bathroom light. The flickering stopped each time Maginot walked over to investigate, which he attributed to a demonic presence. It must be scared of me, he told the Star. The interview was interrupted again when Campbell pointed out Venetian blinds in the kitchen swinging even though there was no air current. Maginot said he also saw wet footprints throughout the living room. Ammons complained about having a headache. Maginot said she convulsed when he placed a crucifix against her head. After a 4-hour interview, Maginot said he was convinced the family was being tormented by demons. He said he also believed that there were ghosts in the house. Sure, trying a few ghosts there on top of the demons, you know what I mean? And Maginot blessed the house before he left. He was praying, reading from the Bible, sprinkling holy water, not olive oil.
No
in
holy
each room.
water this time. Yeah.
He told Ammons and fucking Crisco, was that a fucking Fritex? Got around with a bit of fucking crisp and dry.
Only 1 calorie per spray.
A bit of crisp and dry around the fucking sitting room. He told Ammons and Campbell to leave because it wasn't safe. They temporarily moved in with a relative. So basically that's part 1 in a nutshell, Eamon, is it? So what have we got in store for part 2 then?
So part 2 is where the exorcism takes place and everything else.
Oh.
So we are...
Bottles of Crisco.
Bottle of Crisco, the whole lot.
Fucking,
you know,
Fritex,
Semtex. So we have the police, we have everybody going down there. So it's gonna be spooky.
All the king's horses and all the king's men.
They can't put it together again until they put it together again. So we're gonna be flying.
I'm intrigued, then, and I'm interested in
That's
this.
the juicy haunting
parts
of it, and then the rest of it gets into the kind of the aftermath, all the stuff they had to do to get rid of the demons and where the family find themselves now.
Oh, okay. So we'll leave it there for now then. It's a bit shorter today, but next week's one will be probably a bit longer.
We're hustling this week.
Yeah.
Next week, potentially hustling again.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Potentially.
What the fuck is all this hustling?
I have such a busy life. Such a busy life.
All right, so we'll leave it there then. So I've been Rob.
I've been Eamon.
Master Fuzz over and out.